today. So every day we start fresh because we can't affect the past, but we damn sure can make a difference today.
Welcome to episode 95 of Shop Talk. It's Jennifer,
And Carrie.
and we're covering a couple of Witches of East End episodes while we're waiting for February 20th. Because
Mhm,
we figured why not? Like this has got two of the rookie cast members in it. So
mhm.
there isn't really any news that we'll talk about, so we'll just jump right into the episode. Do you want to
Yeah.
take us through the brief synopsis of the show?
Yeah. So just in case you guys haven't seen it or are not familiar with it, it centers on the mysterious Beauchamp family, and they live in a like secluded town of East Haven, and we have Joanna is the mother, and Freya's kind of one of her daughters who's more of a wild child, and then we have Ingrid who's more on the shy side, and they are both gifted and cursed with a magic birthright, but the daughters are not aware of this. And it's not until Joanna's estranged sister appears with a warning, and that could change the family's fate. And so obviously, she has to tell her daughters that they are actually immortal witches with untapped powers, and that will turn their lives upside down. And I found this out a little while later, but it's inspired by the novel of the same name by Melissa de la Cruz. So
Hmm.
yeah.
It aired from 2013 to 2014 with two seasons
Hmm.
on Lifetime, which it can be found on Hulu now, so that's how we've
Yes.
been watching it, but there
Hmm.
was 23 total episodes. So
Yeah.
and what I thought was interesting was when we announced we were covering this episode, someone had brought up like some petition that's going around to save the show. And I saw that like on Google too, and it's been going
Hmm.
on since like 2019 or something. So
Hmm.
that was interesting, but
Yeah. Hmm.
the show's also starring Julia Ormond, Rachel Boston, Madchen Amick, Daniel D. Tomaso, Virginia Madsen, and more. So
Yep.
lots of good, well-known actors behind it.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through the fun fact that we found
Oh,
out?
yes. Oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher his last name though, but Enver Gochai, who played Donovan in The Rookie, was also in Witches of East End for 4 episodes
Like, yeah,
in season one. Yeah.
towards the end of season one.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
yeah, so we'll just be covering the pilot episode and then 102
Mhm.
in this recap, but basically we start off in 101 where there's a party going on. It looks like it's outside the gates of the house. It took me 3 watches, honestly, to figure out that it was outside the house.
Well,
Like
yeah, because
the
it,
gates, the
yeah,
gates. I was like, wait, is this a cemetery? Like I couldn't figure it out for some
yeah.
reason. So, one of our main characters, so we think, is Joanna. She's drawing like some kind of symbol on the ground. And like some neighbors see her, they say hi, but it's not necessarily her. She's got like green eyes and she's very like zombie-like.
Hmm.
And she drops her stick that she's using and just like walks by them. Nothing said, nothing. Um, and as the couple like turns around to like keep walking, Joanna is back in front of them and she charges at them, and then we get like the opening scene or the opening credits. So we go back to the house, and inside Ingrid and Freya are getting ready to leave for Freya's engagement party to Dash. And Freya's looking stunning in this red dress with like a big white flower on the side of her face. She's nervous for it. And Freya tells Ingrid that she just like feels off. She had a strange dream that included a guy she had never seen before, but like she felt like she knew him forever. And then they kissed and the world exploded. And Ingrid's like, it's just a classic anxiety dream. It's just because you're getting married, it's a big step. So you're creating a dream scenario about someone who doesn't actually exist. And
Hmm.
Freya's like, I'm not anxious though. Like I know that Dash is the one. So Freya's then like, I'm psychic. Like, you know, I I I'm not psychic, but I have these feelings. So Dash and Freya are greeting people. I liked the music and how it was like kind of slow-mo through all this. Like it felt
Hmm.
very, I don't know, just kind of like fantasy like thriller, like it definitely fit with the theme of the show.
Mhm.
It felt like. So they're greeting people, and then we cut to them sitting outside on the patio by the water, and he's talking about how he would marry her in Vegas tomorrow. And then he's like, and I forgive you for being a half hour late to our party. And she's like, I was not a half hour late. I was 15 minutes late. And he's like, you're always at least 15 minutes late to everything you do. Which I mean, same. I'm chronically late to literally everything. And I usually don't have a good excuse why. I'm just late. I'm just late. I want to be better about it, but we'll see. So So we meet Penelope Gardner. She wants a good relationship with Freya. She's like, I never had a daughter, so I figured when one of my sons married that I would. She shares some backhanded comments about like Freya's upbringing and then mentioned shopping. And Freya's like not too thrilled about it. So when Penelope takes an order, Freya mutters under her breath, like, I hope you choke on it. And Penelope then coincidentally chokes. Dash is nearby, thank goodness, but Freya like runs over to Ingrid. She doesn't even like ask if like Penelope's okay or
No,
anything.
I know. She just took off.
Yeah, she just made the mad dash. I was like, I guess it's a good thing that Dash was there, but you know.
Yeah.
Um, so she runs over to Ingrid, tells her about the recent event. And then Freya sees this guy from her dream walk over, and like instantly the flower in her hair like changes from white to red. But like no one else seems to notice that
Yeah.
and point it out, which to me is just weird. But then watching the show later on, someone had said like, well, I don't or you don't see anything. You don't see no one sees you, but you see them. So I figured it was maybe something like that. But like, I don't know, it was just weird.
Mhm.
So I hope that's kind of brought up later on in the show, but I don't know. So Frey is convinced that all this is happening and she has powers, but Ingrid's convinced that it's all just a coincidence. Like they're definitely on two opposite sides here. And if it was me, I don't know, I'd probably be a mix of both. Like probably leaning more towards Ingrid though, if it's just all coincidence.
Mhm.
So we see a drunk couple leaving at the party. They see the neighbors that Joanna's look-alike killed, the Thatchers. And so Joanna and Dash are like back at the party looking at the painting of Archibald from the early 1900s, Archibald Browning. And Joanna acts like she's known him, like until she realizes that she's talking to Dash, who is immortal and doesn't know that she's
Yeah.
been around for years, like
Yeah.
hundreds of
Doesn't know that
years.
she's like a million years old.
Yeah.
Really.
So she plays it off like she's read about him. And Dash starts talking about the restoration process and like the unique architecture on the place. And then Dash like mentions because they start talking about Freya. And Dash mentions that he grew up with a lot of rules. And Joanna's like, well, Freya didn't. So, you'll
Definitely like
find more out about
opposites.
that.
Total
Yeah.
opposites there.
And then we find out that Freya and Dash have only known each other for a few months and they're already engaged, which I need more backstory on that. Like, how did that happen? And I'm sure that that will happen in later episodes,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna keep watching because I don't know, the show's got me hooked for some reason. So Detective Adam Noble, walks up and meets Ingrid at the bar. He kind of like doesn't know that it's her until she turns around. And so she geeks out on the history behind the home. She mentions her dissertation about it, about witchcraft and occult practices in post-revolutionary New York. And so Adam, like their whole conversation kind of takes a couple of turns, and Adam mentions how Ingrid like turned him down. And so as they start to talk about that, like he gets a call and has to leave, because of the Thatcher case. So then we go back over to Dash and Freya. He checks on her, and he's on the side of her that like the flower is on, and doesn't notice it, like how it went from white to red. Which I'm beginning to wonder if like maybe that was just something that like the audience was supposed to see. Like I wonder if Freya even had that on, or if it was just something that like the audience was supposed to recognize.
Yeah.
But then we meet Killian, and that's the start of the love triangle-ish storyline.
Yeah. Ish.
Um, and so she follows him upstairs, like they start to kiss. This again, okay, for some reason, this reminded me of the Britney Spears Curious
Oh
fragrance
my
ad.
God. I didn't even think
I
about
don't
that.
know why, but it did.
Well, because it's
And
like
I was
that, like
like,
secretive, like you're
yeah.
like it's
Like
almost
she
like you're looking in on a private moment.
Yeah,
No, they're
like
not
he
really supposed
looks
to have
back
it
at
anyway.
her, she like doesn't say anything. She just like it seems like she's just like pulled automatically to him. But yeah, it definitely gave me like those commercial vibes that I was like, dude, why?
Oh,
Like this is so
irony.
weird. Um, and so she like follows him upstairs, they start to kiss. They ignite like a fire behind them, which I'm assuming is just that dream like taking place.
I would
Again,
assume.
but in her conscious state. And so as Freya like runs out there, there's flowers that she runs by, and those like petals like change or fall off. And there was just like so much TV magic that went on with the show. Like it's actually really awesome to see. Um, Ingrid then finds a picture of her like hanging on the wall. She's like walking around kind of exploring this house. She finds a picture of her, what appears to be her and another woman at the time we don't know who, on the wall. She takes the frame off, the frame ends up breaking, and then the picture disintegrates. Um and so then that led me to another question. Okay, so if Dash and Penelope, who we only know are those two in the family right now,
Mhm.
if they're living in this house that like was built in the 1900s, they don't really know who lived there before. Why would they just keep up random pictures of like people from the 1900s and like older in there? Like I would be like, take these down. We don't know these people, you
I
know?
don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe just to like they just seem like the kind of people that like want to keep up, like just
Yeah,
keep everything like just exact.
yeah,
And so like I don't really feel like they would keep like super personal like
yeah,
touches. They feel kind of like disconnected from like each
yeah,
other. Like they're at least that's how I what the vibe I got was like they're
yeah,
kind of like yeah, they're I mean, we don't know it at the time, but they're like like they're all family, but like they don't really act like they are.
yeah, yeah. They don't. I don't know. It was just kind of weird to me because over the summer I found pictures in my basement from
Oh, really?
like the 1800s to
Oh my
1900s,
God.
like early, because my paternal grandparents were a lot older when
Mhm.
they became parents and then grandparents. So like they're from like before the 1920s. Like that's when they were born. So we found like all these pictures of random people that we didn't know from
Oh
like
my
church
gosh.
things, like Catholic things. And I was like, this is really weird. And I feel
Wow.
like there's history behind it, but we didn't know any of them. And
Mhm.
then the pictures weren't salvageable anyway. So we were like,
Mhm.
guess we're just gonna throw it out. But I mean, it was definitely weird to think that like we had that in our basement. So
Mhm.
for like almost 30 years. It was just weird. But it made me like question like why they still had these up on the wall. But then I thought also maybe like the house is historical like in that town and so they like
Mhm.
have to preserve it. I don't know. This
Yeah, that too.
yeah. But then also watching the show continue, it
Mhm.
does make sense why that stuff is
Yes.
up. So,
Yes.
yeah. Um so anyway, so then a woman, like the next day, is driving and hits what she thinks is a black cat because it was a black cat like running. And
Yes.
it's actually a naked woman when she gets out of her car. It's a naked woman, like just on the street in broad daylight. So we go back over to the house. Joanna's leaving for the day. We see someone using a key to get in there. And it looks like Joanna, but again, it's just her lookalike with the green eyes. Which I guess is the shifter, or at least one of them.
Mhm.
So we see that she has a candle. She stands by a painting, like chanting a spell. And just as the picture is starting to change, the real Joanna runs back in to get her purse and sees the window open and with the candle being blown out on the table. The angles and just the filming of it all was really cool to like
Mhm.
see, like, I don't know, it was really cool how they did that. A lot of
Yeah.
TV magic happened.
Mhm.
Um, so we go back over to the hospital. We see the woman's like finger pop out of the body bag and like it unzips,
Yep. I was
which was
like,
a
no, thank
little,
you.
yeah, yeah, it was a little eerie. I was like, I'm okay with that without that. So we find Ingrid at work talking to a coworker who's trying to get pregnant. She's like, I need a miracle to happen. if I want to get pregnant and asks Ingrid if she knows any get pregnant spells. And Ingrid's like, if there was such a thing as witchcraft and I somehow had the ability to use it, Barb would be the first one I'd help. Which, like, foreshadowing much? I
Right?
mean,
It's like seriously.
yeah. Um, and so Joanna gets back home like the second time of the day to find a woman on her porch. And we find out that it's Aunt Wendy, who they haven't seen each other in over 100 years, but Wendy's like, I'm here to save your life. So we see Detective Adam Noble later stop by the library. He asks Ingrid if she knows what this like weird symbol by the Thatcher's bodies meant. And she's not totally sure, but she's like, it looks like a mixture of a couple of different symbols, but they're all like from different cultures. So she'll look into it and then they'll discuss. Which he like kind of hints at like setting up a date to discuss it. Um, so then, like, after he leaves, Barb walks up to Ingrid. Ingrid mentions doing a fertility spell to maybe help get Barb pregnant. And she prefaces that it likely won't work and it's totally stupid, but like, why not give it a try? Um, which again, kind of foreshadowing, but
Mm.
so then we see Wendy and Joanna talking. And Wendy's like, I'm not sure how many lives I have left. Apparently that's Wendy's curse. And so Wendy assumes that Joanna hates her, but really Joanna's just mad. Because we find out that Wendy actually killed Ingrid
Mhm.
like so many lives ago. But Wendy's like, it's fine because she was reborn. So Wendy's like, I'm there to help. I'm here to help the girls too, but Joanna shares that they don't know about their gift. So Wendy's kind of appalled by that, which I don't blame her, but also like, yeah, I don't know.
It's
I
like, how do
mean,
you tell people? Like, how do you tell
right,
people that?
right. Yeah, how do you tell someone that like you've been reborn like dozens of times? Like,
Yeah.
Um, so we find out that the girls grow up until around 30 years old when they die. And then Joanna isn't even done going through the grieving process and the cycle starts all over. Um, and she's like, I'm pregnant. They grow up practicing magic and then they pass on. So Joanna then put a spell over them when they were little in this current life that they're in, so that they wouldn't find out that they're witches. But then we find out that Joanna's curse is immortality and endless motherhood. So like she would always have this keep going, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have assumed that that would have been a curse. But we find out that all of the women in the family are cursed with something, which honestly is part of the reason why I really want to keep watching because I'm like, okay, I want to know what everyone's kind of cursed with because there's been foreshadowing in this first episode, and I kind of have a feeling what like Freya's curse is
Mm-hmm.
with the love triangle, but I don't know. So then Killian comes to visit the bar, flirts with Freya. He mentions his boat. He assumes that she'll come by after her shift because of what happened at E. That won't be happening again. Um, Ingrid and her coworkers are getting ready then for this fertility spell. They're standing in like this in a circle, and they start reciting the chant, and then they get bored. And so they go to get a drink, and after they leave, the circle that they were in lights up because Barb's like, shouldn't there be lights, like, or a flash of lightning or something? Um, and so then we kind of go back over to Joanna. There were a lot of like cuts and stuff, so it's like hard to kind of like piece it together in the outline. But Joanna, what we find out why Joanna was angry at Wendy. Again, she killed Ingrid, but she was reborn. Um, and so Wendy's like, she tells Joanna that she's not really immortal. Like the right spell in the wrong hands could get her killed. And if someone really wanted to kill her, they could. So Wendy tells Joanna to like get her cards out. And Wendy then mentions the dream with the shifter with green eyes, and how she dealt her cards for Joanna that night and multiple times. They were always the same thing. So they try to figure out Joanna's enemy. She has no idea though. Wendy suggests it might be Dash. And Joanna's like, no, I tested him. He's immortal. Um, And so then if it's not him, then they're still wondering like who it could be because the enemy won't stop until Joanna and her girls are dead. Like they won't have the chance to be reborn. So Freya's having another dream, and she's like running to Killian's boat. He mentioned something about waiting 400 years for this, and it's not even really happening. Um, which like when Freya wakes up, it doesn't seem like she's kind of focusing on that. Like, why would he have said that?
Yeah.
Um, but also kind of foreshadowing that like maybe he's immortal. Um,
Mhm.
so the next morning, Joanna's telling the girls about Wendy, and a black cat jumps up. But we find out that it's Wendy, and Joanna reminds her about the no magic in the rule house, or in the house rule. And so Freya then tells Ingrid about Killian and the kiss, and then they meet Aunt Wendy, who Ingrid like instantly recognizes from that picture, necklace and
Mhm.
all. And so Ingrid like kind of backs away. She's like, I gotta go to work. I'm not really gonna like interact with her because that's kind of weird. But Wendy kind of reads Freya's aura at the market, and Freya mentions that she can like read or at least see other people's auras too. And it seems like the puzzle pieces are kind of starting to come together for the girls. Like they're realizing that something's going on. So the Joanna lookalike is back at the house. They're trying to get the man out of the picture again. And she's successful today, tells him that she can help get revenge on the witch, that trapped him in the painting that he was in. And so we go over to the bar, and Killian's back there. He's like, we should be friends. You're marrying my brother. Like, we're gonna be in this for a while. So they're playing darts, and she excuses herself to go to the restroom. And the guy from the painting follows her in there. He calls her by name, says Freya would be different, etc. And it's freaking her out. So she's like, I think you have me confused with someone else. And he's like, I was stuck in the desert for 80 years because of you, all because I asked you to marry me. So he pulls a knife on her. I'm assuming it was a knife, right? I mean,
I
it
think.
it looks like more of a antique kind of knife.
Yeah, or almost like a not dagger, but like a not not a traditional like modern day
Yeah,
knife that you would see.
yeah. It looked like an antique or like not medieval, but just kind of like early,
Yeah.
you know, early times.
Hmm.
So he wants her to repeat the spell that he's chanting. The picture behind them like comes alive, and he's taking her hand in the photo, and then she's just confused. So we also see Ingrid's back in the library reading. Barb runs up to her with a positive pregnancy test, and she thinks it's a spell. And Ingrid's like, I don't think so. Like we found that on a website on Google that spelled fertility and spell wrong. Like I don't
Hmm.
think it's that. But we go back over to the house. Wendy's making a vision stew. She's hoping that they can use it to find the imposter. She hears who she assumes is Joanna come in, and so she's like, all kind of chipper, telling her about it. She turns around to find it's Joanna's imposter, the shifter, and she's stabbed in the stomach, which seems like that's a pretty surefire way where she will get killed. So we go and see Freya's back in the painting from the 1920s. The guy who brought her in is there. She starts running, calling for help while Killian's back in the real world trying to find her. Like he's like banging on the bathroom door, ends up getting in and like doesn't see her there. But the picture is like fine. Like it's not,
Yeah.
coming to life or anything. Um, so then we kind of like have this weird cut and we go over to the hospital, and Detective Noble is walking into Maura Thatcher's room, because she's still alive and ready to share who killed her husband. So we see Joanna find Wendy on the floor, and Wendy's like, the imposter stabbed me. I know more about it. It looks like you, but has green eyes. And she's like, I ate some stew and had a vision. Freya's in trouble. An old lover of hers wants revenge, and she's in the picture of the bar she works at. He wants to kill her in the picture because he knows if he does, she can't be reborn. So Ingrid's there. She's so confused about what's happening. And Joanna
Literally me
like
too though. Like
yeah,
the picture thing and like they say that they're, like painting and fire and like bird, like all the thing. I'm like, there's too many like elements going on at one time.
Yeah. Well, then Joanna like finally reveals that they're witches. But Ingrid's even like, don't tell me we're witches. And they say it at the same time. And I was like, yeah. I mean, Ingrid like studied all about it, right? So like she's gotta kind of know. So, just as like Joanna's like, kind of starting to tell her stuff, um, she's telling her about the spell that was casted on the girls when they were little, and she's like, it worked a little too well on you and not so much on Freya. So Freya was sent to therapy, and Ingrid's putting all the pieces together, and she's like, Freya knew, like, she'll be so pissed off, like all of that. Then the doorbell rings, and it's Adam and a police officer, and he's there to handcuff and take away Joanna because she's been ID'd. Um, but just before Joanna's taken away, she like goes to hug Ingrid, and tells her about the break front and what she needs to do to help Freya. So that's where we leave off in episode 1. It was wild for a first
Mhm.
episode.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, just like some of my general thoughts during watching the show was one, like it's good. I mean, it's so good. I have made it to episode 8 of season 1, and I'm like, it's definitely making more sense, but I'm still like, there's so much to learn.
Mhm.
And I'm not one who's like really into magical and fantasy stuff. So it's really interesting that I'm like kind of into this, but it's a good fun watch. And it's kind of easy to binge. I would say I would binge this more over like watching it live. Like I can't imagine watching it from week to week and trying to remember like what all happened.
Mhm.
I'm sure that they like recaps and stuff, but yeah, like I don't know. I feel like this is something where like I would have to binge it more so
Mhm.
than like watch it live. But and I
Yeah.
can't get over how Jenna and Machen is and Julia like all look alike.
Mhm.
Like there was that one market scene where Jenna and Machen like really looked alike. At least
Yeah.
that one I could kind of see more of their similar looks.
Yeah. Well, like all
At
of them
least in the
having like the
show.
super dark hair or like variations of slightly darker hair like
Hmm.
help a lot.
And the curls and stuff, I think that's
Yeah.
what does it. But
Hmm.
yeah. And then just all the magical effects that they worked into the show, like truly never cease to amaze me.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
and I don't know, like I was saying before we started recording, to me it's just like I don't know, it's weird to see like Eric and Jenna in this
No, I know it's so
whole
weird.
thing.
It's so
But
weird.
I mean, it's cool to see it in like a different way. Like it's a different
Hmm.
genre of TV. So
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah. But
Hmm.
want to take us through 102?
Yeah, 102 is just as like like the thing like things never stop like happening, which I mean makes sense for this type of show, but still I was like, oh good, there's more about the painting and like all the thing like I was just oh my gosh, there's just so many things. Um
Mm-hmm.
and so it like towards the beginning of the episode we have since well like Jennifer said before Jonah was taken away. She was telling Ingrid about what to do to try to help Freya. And so Ingrid opens uh her mother's secret cabinet and locates the like heirlooms that'll kind of help. Well, she hopes will help uncover more things that they can possibly do to help Freya. And there's like different like magical texts and photos and I don't even know how to say the thing like grimoire. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that's how you
Yeah.
say it. And so she looks for a spell because Freya is still obviously still trapped in the photograph. Um and then we have um Joanna being like again lots of cuts because then it cuts over Joanna's being questioned by Adam and he like had drawn out the symbol and like asked if she knows what it is and she's like nope uh nothing about like she doesn't know anything about that and then she asks if she can like smoke and he gives her a cigarette and she begins like chanting which is also like a little off um for her and we go back to see that Ingrid located a resurrection spell and manages to bring like Wendy back. Um, but Wendy says that the spell like comes with a price. You like once you bring someone you love back, someone
Yeah.
else that you love has to take their place. So it's like a yeah. Um, and poor Freya is still trapped in the picture. And he's about to like burn her in the world of the painting that they're in.
Yeah.
Um,
Like it literally sets the bar on fire.
yeah, and I was like, he has a lot of anger. Like
Hmm.
this is a lot. Um, and
Not to mention
then
he's like sunburned,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is weird too, but yeah.
hmm Yeah, there was a lot going on. Um, and back like outside the painting world, back in the real world, Dash and Killian are playing pool and having a heated argument while doing so, which was like, I don't know, like this love triangle-ish thing is like so, I
It's
don't know.
weird.
It
It's
is, but like
weird.
also I feel like it's very like um I don't know how else to say it besides like timely for the times. Like in that like era
Yeah.
of TV, it was very much like
Yeah.
you have either like the action or like the magic element, but then you also have like the romance, like
Hmm.
who will they
You
end
have
up
that
with or
someone that like you're not supposed to be with, but like you
yeah,
want it, and then
yeah,
that person that like you're supposed to be with. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it
Mhm.
reminded me of yeah, just keep going.
Okay, keep going. Um, and so meanwhile, Wendy and Ingrid are, trying to figure out how the heck they can get to Freya. And Wendy just, we start to hear, about the curses that the women in their family have, but we don't get like a lot
Hmm.
of info, just a little tiny bit, just a little bit more than we had before, but not anything like substantial. Um, and then back to Joanna, well, her lawyer comes in named Harrison, and he might be able to help get her out of the police station, but he's not exactly able to quote unquote stop a psychopath who wants her
Hmm.
dead. Um, and so we see that then Freya's in a room that's burning, and she thinks that she's lifted by Killian, but then she
Yeah.
thinks that she also sees Dash, who wonders what's happening and like why is she in the middle of this fire that's like happening in this bathroom.
Yeah.
Um, and so while that's going on, then we also have um Ingrid then like tells Freya that they're witches and like tells them about the curse. Um, and then see, this is what I mean. I get so like confused because then like while that's going on, and they all get a message from Joanna's lawyer that says that they
Yeah.
can, they can find, the bail money with their Aunt Marilyn. And I'm like, what? I'm like, did I miss something else? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
But then it all kind of makes sense towards the end. But anyway, so they might have a way to, get Joanna out. And again, back in like the regular world, Gillian and Dash are continuing to talk, and um, Dash, offers him a check and like warns him like you really need to like get out of town. Um, but Killian's kind of like, yeah, I kind of like it here. Like he thinks he'll stick around. Um, and obviously Dash wants him gone because he thinks that he's a threat to his relationship with um Freya um and then we see like on that same subject of Freya's relationships, we then find out that well, the her ex-boyfriend, Doug, like ended up stabbing one of her coworkers and then stealing her car.
Which is the guy
And
from the painting,
yes,
right?
which is the guy from the painting. Yes, so
Oh
then
my
that's
gosh.
the
See,
yeah.
I missed that. I missed that
No, I know
part.
it took me a minute. I was like, is it real? I was like, no, yeah, it is. It is. It has to be. That's the only thing that I can make sense of it, as
So
that
he's
has to
still
be
out
the guy
there.
from the painting. If he, because he was like so mad, and I'm like, okay, yeah, an ex-boyfriend or ex whatever,
Yeah.
like the only person from her past that I can think of that would still have so much like resentment and anger towards her,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's still not really, it doesn't, it's not exactly founded, at least not in the way that would make him do all of this
Yeah.
ridiculousness, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so um Freya, Ingrid, and Wendy uncover Marilyn, who's not a real person, not even remotely. Fake person, fake grave that Joanna created to bury the money inside,
Yeah.
like the bail money. And so they found the grave, and inside the coffin is the money that they needed to get her out of jail.
And it's a
And
lot of money.
it is. I was like, holy moly. I was like, no wonder they had to hide it. Like, where else would you put that?
Right. So not
Um,
me thinking when they were doing all that, I was like, they're gonna get arrested. Like
no,
cops
I
are
know.
gonna
I was
show
like,
up
wait,
and they're
it's
gonna
like,
get arrested
yeah, I was like,
because they're digging up a grave.
yeah, it's too easy. I was like, I got like so like Pretty Little Liars vibes from that though, like digging
Yes.
up graves. I was like,
Yes.
oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were almost one too many scenes in PLL where that
Hmm.
was the case.
Yeah, where they
So,
did end up getting caught too. So it's like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get caught, but then at the same time, like you have at least what I'm assuming is the shapeshifter like posing as Joanna is like watching them do all of this and is like
Hmm.
so upset that they, have like discovered this like piece of the
Yeah.
plan. Um,
And it seemed like they were lingering around. It was like, okay, grab the money and let's go. Like,
yeah,
why are
right.
you just lingering?
I feel like they're like all comfortable now though that they like know that they're
Yeah.
witches. They're like, we're just gonna like take a
Yeah.
minute and like chill out
Yeah. Yeah.
in this by this grave. It's fine.
No big deal.
Yeah. Um, and like you had said earlier, like obviously, you know, Freya's mad that she didn't know the truth about like who she is and what, she can do until now. Um, and Joanna's, saying she has a lot of enemies, but now that they know that they're witches, they like literally can't tell anyone, like not a soul. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't know what it is with like Killian and in this boat. Like, why a boat? Why?
I think because he knows he can't stay at the house, so he's staying
Oh,
at the boat.
yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Um,
I don't know. I've
so
got a sneaking suspicion about that guy.
I don't know. But I just, oh God, because
And
there's
kind
like
of about Dash too, honestly.
yeah, like I don't know which like I don't really like know about either of them like right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because they're both a little sus.
Hmm.
At least when it comes to well, because it's like I feel like it's just like the like jealousy and like worry and like all
Yeah.
these like emotions are like clouding their like judgments, at least when it
And the
comes to
emotions are
Freya.
valid too, because like
Oh
later in
yeah.
the show, like it's brought up,
Hmm.
but that's not even like what's kind of red flags to me. Like, I
No.
don't know. I just like why is Killian like latching on to Freya? Kind of
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
But
Well, and then like, but she keeps showing up to visit him too, and I'm like,
right.
girl, not your not your fiance, not your soon-to-be husband. Like that's
Yeah.
his brother. Like it's
And also
weird.
like draw some boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, Killian's on the boat. Freya goes to visit him and because she just wants to like wallow, like she's had one hell of a time. And she's like, if she goes to Dash, she'll just like try to make everything like okay. Um, and even though the both of them know they shouldn't be hanging out together, they continue to do so anyway. And I'm like, okay, this is good. This is not gonna last long. Like, I don't even know what the heck season two could be like then, because it's like if they're like both the brothers are still in season 2, I'm assuming, then like they gotta be with
Yeah.
like other people by that time or something. Because there's
Yeah.
no way this love triangle can like
Go on
continue
for
to
2
go.
seasons.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I
I don't
can't,
know.
especially if these two can't stay away from each other for
Yeah.
a second.
Unless it's
Really.
done in like secrecy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um, and so then we go back. Ingrid's trying to like I mean, I appreciate her dedication to trying to like undo this like price that you have to pay to use the spell. And um they like Ingrid, Joanna, and Wendy realized that maybe Doug could have escaped the painting um at the bar, and so they go to look for him. And as that's happening, then we see Freya goes back home. Um, Obviously the house is empty. But she notices some things like dripping from the ceiling upstairs. So she goes up and she sees that the bathtub's overflowing. And then we see Doug sneaking up behind her and tries
Oh
to
yeah.
drown her in the tub. Um,
Yeah, that's
and
right. I
yeah.
remember that.
Mhm.
And
I
it
was
gave
like,
me
yeah.
flashbacks to the whole like Bailey and Beryl
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yeah, I was
And
like,
I was like,
what?
wow.
I was like, what is with Jenna Dewan's characters and like getting doused in water and like
Hmm.
completely, almost completely submerged in water?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it
wild.
was something.
Yeah. Um, but luckily, obviously, because we can't have Freya die in like the second episode of the season,
Yeah.
um, Wendy, Joanna, and Ingrid return home and they save her by locking Doug up in another painting, which then they bury, of course, because you have to put something in the ground, make sure it doesn't come up again. Um, and so they have like a nice moment there with everything's kind of a little bit calmer. Um, And after they all hug, we see that Dash is waiting for Freya on the porch. And she's basically like, yeah, it's a long story and it's kind of crazy. And it's probably better if you just don't ask. So they pretty
Yeah.
much kind of leave it at that. And then later we see Ingrid looking through the family spell book and Joanna's like dealing with her cards again. Um, and again, we see well, I'm assuming is the shifter like watching their house from the street. And then we see um like her prick her finger and like etch the symbol into just a tree trunk
Hmm.
that's nearby, and then immediately you see like the tree is dead. So obviously shapeshifters bad news.
Yeah.
They got to watch out a little bit.
Yeah.
Um yeah. And I mean, just my general thoughts, like, I mean, I just love how it's basically like with the exception of like, obviously, Dash and Killian, like
Hmm.
Eric and Daniel's characters, it's like basically all like a female-led cast, which is cool. Um, it's still, yeah, like you said, it's so funny to see Eric and Jenna like play a couple.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And it's just,
Especially one that it was on Lifetime. So like
mhm.
they have like more freedom and like more
A
leeway to go
little
there.
bit, yeah. Well, especially
And
with
it was
late
just
night
like,
TV.
yeah, I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just a little much, but yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And like I had mentioned before we started recording, just like the different like worlds that they were in just like take some getting used to to like
Hmm.
see like painting world and then what's real and what's not and what does she think is a dream and what's actually like going on. And it like
Yeah.
and like you said, a lot of cuts like happen. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
you go from okay, like they have this, witch is in trouble. And then we have, back in the actual world, like,
Right.
people trying to find them or wondering what's like, where they are or what's going on. So it's like,
Yeah. And they
it's
don't
a
really have
lot.
any like good transitions for it or
Not
like
really.
different like the dreams or flashbacks aren't in like black and white versus like I
Yeah.
don't there isn't
Or
like
like
very
they're
good
not even like a
transitions.
toned down, or like
Mm-hmm.
sepia or like I don't know, like I watched one show where they do like either black and white or they'll sometimes do like a blue cast or like a kind of like green or like
Mm-hmm.
just like either darker color or like just kind of they fade out the color some, but there was like really
Yeah.
none of that um like that went on in this, at least not that I've seen
Yeah.
so far. Um but I don't know, I just think it's cool that like you see actors from like other shows that they do later after Witches, but seeing
Mm-hmm.
them in the show is like cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely went on
And
an IMDb rabbit hole
mhm,
with
yeah.
this,
Well, I
so
totally forgot that like Daniel was like Zach on Chicago Fire, like Lieutenant
mm-hmm.
Zach. And I was like, duh. Like that's where I was like, it was driving me nuts because I had like kind of forgot
Yeah.
um that he was on there. Um and then like I said, just like I can't get over their names. I mean, I get it that it's like a fantasy, like but just like Dash. Like when he said Bad Dash, I was like, haha, that's so funny because his name is Dash. Like,
Yeah.
but like also yeah, oh my God. There's just so many like sibling connections too. Because it's like they're brothers, and then you have the witches that are sisters, and then the like Wendy and Joanne, like just
Mm-hmm.
everyone has like their sibling. Well, except I guess Freya and Ingrid, they're different, but it's not like they absolutely hate each other or anything, where you have
Yeah.
like more animosity between Wendy and Joanna and then like Dash and Killian.
Yeah.
Um anyway, um but it also like reminded me of like a grown-up version of The Secret Circle, which was the Britt Robertson show that I like because it was also about witches. Um, and coincidentally also had a character named Adam in that show as well. But it kind
Nice.
of just like had similar like vibes because like her character in that show didn't know that she had magical powers until like way later. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, definitely got kind of similar vibes from that because there's like a lot of um like different, well, it's like all set in the same world, so there's not a lot, definitely no like people getting trapped in paintings or anything, but there's like
Yeah.
they get kind of this like other dimension, or like you can tell where the magic is and then where it's not happening.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Definitely like a grown-up version of The Secret Circle. So I'll probably keep watching it. It's just
Yeah.
so crazy because like I mean none of them really like age like that much, but it's just like so interesting to see like Jenna Dewan like
Mm-hmm.
play this like role because like I had never seen her in anything um
Yeah.
else aside from Step Up and then obviously The Rookie. And I
Mm-hmm.
know she's done like hosting things and like dance gigs.
Wait,
But
you
aside
haven't
from that,
watched the Fab Five cheerleader
no, I watched
Yandel?
that, but like
Yeah.
that that was like 5 years from like this, and she looked the exact same in like
Yeah.
both of these. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was just yeah,
Yeah.
interesting to see her
Mm-hmm.
in like this kind of genre, I guess.
Um, so like when Freya finds out that Killian is Dash's brother
Hmm.
in episode one, and she's like standing between them or whatever, and Dash is like, yeah, I told you about him. Um, and she's like, no, not really. It gave me the vibes of Jason coming back in The Rookie and Bailey and Nolan being like, what?
Like you could like insert the cricket sound there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
I
like
was like,
major awkward
okay,
tension. Yeah.
yeah. Like that love triangle in Witches of East End, and then the awkwardness and whatever The Rookie
Yeah.
was just kind of funny to me.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
also Doug like setting the bar on fire and just like trapping Freya in there was like very Caleb and Lucy to me. And I was like,
Hmm.
don't like this. No,
Yeah. The like
no.
obsessive nature is like
Yeah.
a little much. But I don't know. Do we have any other thoughts to add? I
I
don't
don't think
really.
so. It was a really good show.
Yeah. And definitely like easy to like watch. So if you have
Yeah.
Hulu and you want to go check it out, you should. We'll keep posting like random photos and stuff this week too from
Hmm.
the show. Especially ones with like Jenna and Eric. Because like the cast would like hang out a lot and like still would
Yeah.
reunite when the show was done. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool too. Um, yeah. But I mean, with that, you guys can obviously find us on Twitter at shoptalkpod_, or email us at shoptalktherookiepodcast@gmail.com with all your thoughts. And we are on Twitter individually as well. I'm at Carrie Hyman,
And I'm at JStark804.
and we're also on TikTok. We're at the Shop Talk Podcast _ there, and we'll try to post more.
We
Um,
say that every
I
podcast
know.
episode, and it just doesn't happen.
I know. I mean, listen
Yeah.
though, like we are to TikTok what like the rookie account is to like Twitter now. Because like they don't post on
Yeah,
Twitter.
that.
Like hardly
Also,
ever.
like, also, when are we gonna get a new promo?
I
Like,
don't
I need
know.
one.
I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe like on the 20th or something, because then it would be like an
Yeah.
exact month. But I really
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe they'd surprise us and do it like tomorrow or something. I don't know.
I feel
I
like that's
doubt
kind of
it.
wishful
But
thinking for us.
yeah.
But watch that happen because we're recording early.
Oh
We're
yeah,
recording
no,
this
for
episode
sure.
early. So that would happen because we had no news and then it drops tomorrow because it's like a
Probably.
Tuesday, so it's like what, 4 weeks out or something? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it
pretty
would
much.
probably happen.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would not be the least bit surprised if that happened.
Yeah. But then you
We're
can
like
also,
5 weeks out from
oh
premiere.
yeah, are we really? Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
Oh boy.
gosh, that's so crazy.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
just want it back.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Me too.
But
Me too. But we will be back next week. Um, we're going to be ranking cold opens from the rookie. So if you have any favorites that you want us to talk about, you can obviously tweet us or email us if you're not on Twitter or social media. We'll be checking, tweets, like mentions, messages, DMs, emails, all of the above.
mhm.
Um,
We've got a pretty good list of them going.
mhm. Yeah, we do. But if there's like any like one that you think, oh, they must talk about this, like let us know. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just pulling at least mine, like I just, as we were just talking about them,
Yeah.
like in general, we just kind of pulled them from memory.
Yeah.
Just certain ones that we know of off the top of our heads. But yeah, if you guys
We
have
don't
any
know if we're gonna
specific,
do a top five yet or a top 10. It kind of depends on how many we
yeah.
have. So
Hmm.
yeah. But I mean, even if you guys have like a ranking of your top five or whatever, like feel free
Hmm.
to share that. If you've
Yeah.
got a bunch that you know
Hmm.
of off the top of your head, that's
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah.
So
Or I mean, because I know the rookie rewatch did like the cold open, like, um, like what, I don't even know what they're called. The little like bracket things, whatever they're called.
yeah.
I don't know what the word is. It's escaping me. Um, but like they picked the best ones from each season. So if there's, one of those that you think, oh, they, might want to include this, just let us
Hmm.
know and we'll definitely um, see what we can do. But yeah, should be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But with that, we'll talk to everyone next week.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye guys.
Go get him, boo.